Lovely viewers, imagine waking up one morning, scrolling through your phone with sleepy eyes, expecting the usual blend of fashion photos, movie updates, and fan edits, only to be hit with a headline so shocking it makes you sit straight up in bed. A whisper at first, then a roar across platforms. Lee Min-ho and Song Hye-kyo's twins have disappeared without a trace. No photos, no confirmation, no official denial. Just silence. And in the vacuum of silence, speculation explodes. First, it starts subtly. Fans notice something off. A scheduled post doesn't go up. A charity event appearance is quietly cancelled. A stylist who usually posts behind-the-scenes photos goes dark. In the world of celebrity watching, absence is never neutral. Absence is a message waiting to be decoded. Comment sections begin to fill with questions that feel innocent on the surface but carry a tremor underneath. Has anyone seen the twins recently? Why has Song Hye-kyo been so quiet? Is everything okay at home? Then comes the moment when rumor hardens into narrative. A blurry screenshot circulates, allegedly from a private group chat. A so-called insider claims there's family tension. Another anonymous account says the disagreement isn't between the couple, but between their parents. That's when the story takes a dramatic turn, because family disagreements, especially public ones, strike a nerve deeper than any red carpet scandal. Lovely viewers, picture this. Two families with very different philosophies about privacy, tradition, and control, suddenly forced into the harsh spotlight of global fame. On one side, a belief that public reassurance is necessary to calm fans and stop dangerous speculation. On the other, a fierce insistence that children, especially twins born into fame they never chose, should be protected at all costs, even if that protection looks like silence. The internet, however, does not respect silence. It interprets it. Soon, alleged statements begin to appear. One parent is quoted as saying the public deserves reassurance. Another is rumored to have snapped back that the public deserves nothing when it comes to children. Screenshots fly. Voice notes are claimed. Every fan becomes a detective. Every pause in communication a clue. Hashtags trend not because of confirmed information, but because of emotional momentum. People aren't just curious. They're invested. What makes this situation feel especially explosive is the idea of parents disagreeing publicly. In celebrity culture, couples breaking up is expected. Parents clashing is more unsettling. It suggests a fracture at the foundation, a crack beneath the polished image. Fans start picking sides, not just between Lee Min-ho and Song Hye-kyo, but between their families. Some argue that transparency builds trust. Others counter that children should never be used to manage public anxiety. And then, the most frightening phrase of all begins to dominate conversations. Without trace. Lovely viewers, notice how powerful those words are. They don't just suggest absence. They suggest danger. They trigger fear, imagination, worst-case scenarios. Suddenly, what might simply be a decision to step away from public view is being framed as a mystery, even a crisis. Fan accounts post long threads analyzing old interviews, body language, offhand comments made years ago, as if the past might reveal a hidden warning sign everyone missed. Meanwhile, in this fictional narrative, Lee Min-ho and Song Hye-kyo themselves remain silent. And that silence becomes its own character in the story. Some interpret it as calm control. Others see it as panic. A few see it as defiance. They don't owe us anything, one camp insists. But if everything is fine, why not just say so? Another camp fires back. As the days pass in this imagined scenario, the alleged parental disagreement becomes more detailed, more dramatic. One side is said to want a carefully worded public statement, a single photo perhaps, nothing invasive, just proof of well-being. The other side is portrayed as absolutely opposed, arguing that once you give the public a piece, they will demand the whole pie. Today it's a photo. Tomorrow it's a video. Next week it's a schedule of appearances. Lovely viewers, ask yourselves honestly. If you were in that position, what would you choose? This is where the story stops being about celebrities and starts being about us. about our relationship with fame, access, and entitlement. The twins, in this fictional narrative, become symbols rather than individuals. Symbols of innocence caught between love and expectation, between protection and performance. As the rumor mill spins faster, fake confirmations appear. Some accounts claim the twins are abroad. Others insist they're staying with relatives. A few darker voices suggest dramatic conspiracies, which are quickly condemned by more responsible fans but still leave emotional residue behind. Even when people say this is probably not true, the image has already been planted in the mind. Then comes the public disagreement moment that sets everything ablaze. What happened next in this fictional narrative is not a dramatic twist, phrased differently enough for fans to read conflict between the lines. The silence emphasizes reassurance and unity. It lingered. The other emphasizes privacy and boundaries. Everyone involved was disappearance with uncomfortable feelings. But the contrast is enough. Side-by-side comparison post was how divided the reaction videos flood YouTube. Even after reassurance everyone becomes an analyst. Some fans expressed relief so intense it felt like an emotional exhale shared across continents. This is where the story reaches its emotional peak, saying, not because of what is confirmed, and thank you because of what remains unknown. But alongside that relief was a quieter frustration from parents who felt the response was too controlled. The public is louder than ever. But then, slowly, the temperature begins to change. But you could sense the lingering hunger back against the frenzy. More visibility, what if the real harm is us? And this is where the story deepens. In a comment that gets because reassurance doesn't automatically heal mistrust. Maybe disappearing from our view is the healthiest thing they could do. The public disagreement between parents had already done something irreversible. One about consent, it revealed that even inside and the right to an ordinary life, even within extraordinary fears and competing instincts. In this fictional arc, some people related to disagreement between parents doesn't end in a dramatic explosion, but almost everyone recognized it. Lovely viewers, think about how many families you know where love exists alongside disagreement. Everyone claims where everyone believes they are protecting the same thing, but in very different ways. The more interpretations now imagine that family living under a microscope, offered, where every disagreement becomes content. Eventually, a single calm message appears, and every quiet decision becomes a headline waiting to be written. Not defensive, as days turned into weeks. Just firm. Something unexpected happened. That the children are safe. The lack of new information didn't escalate kept out of the way it once would have. It acknowledges concern. The conversation began to mature. Not draws a line, not all at hostility, but noticeably. And just like that, more fans began reminding each other that children are not storylines. Others feel dissatisfied. That twins are not symbols. A few feel embarrassed by how far speculation went. In comment sections, you could see people were never truly missing in this fictional narrative. We don't need photos. Reclaim what was almost taken from doesn't require anonymity. Let them be children as we step back from the official statements or media narratives. The real question isn't whether parents disagreed. They were peer-to-peer reminders, or why the twins weren't seen. Holding other fans accountable. The real question is why absence scares us so much in any age of constant visibility. Why silence feels like a provocation. It's important to understand that the parents' disagreement didn't magically disappear. Evolved. The tension moved away from public platforms and back into private conversations where it belonged. Hard conversations. Emotional ones. The kind that don't trend, don't go viral, and don't offer neat conclusions. But they happened. One side had to confront the reality that public reassurance, once given, rarely satisfies forever. The other had to acknowledge that total silence, in a hyper-connected world, can unintentionally invite the very speculation it seeks to avoid. There was no winner in that debate. Only compromise shaped by fatigue, love, and a shared desire to stop the story from growing larger than the children at its center. Lovely viewers, what makes this part of the story so powerful is that nothing big happens. No grand reveal. No dramatic confrontation caught on camera. Just a gradual recalibration. Fewer reactive decisions. More intentional ones. The family learns, slowly, that managing fame is not about control, but about consistency. In this fictional arc, Lee Min-ho and Song Hye-kyo themselves become more grounded in their approach. They stop reacting to every wave of online chatter and start trusting the long game. They accept that not everyone will understand their choices, and that's okay. Understanding is not a prerequisite for respect. Meanwhile, the twins, still unseen, quietly become the most influential presence in the entire story. Their absence reshapes the narrative. Without images to analyze or milestones to dissect, the public is forced to confront its own habits. Some fans drift away, uninterested without constant updates. Others stay, but with a changed mindset, appreciating the work, the art, the performances, rather than the private lives attached to them. And that, lovely viewers, is a subtle but meaningful victory. As months pass in this imagined continuation, the phrase "disappeared without trace" begins to lose its power. People stop using it. They replace it with something more accurate, more humane, kept out of the spotlight. Language matters. And when language changes, behavior often follows. Occasionally, someone new stumbles into the story, asks the old questions, tries to stir the old fears. But now the response is different. Instead of panic, there is context. Instead of outrage, there is correction. The community, once reactive, becomes protective in a healthier way. Lovely viewers, this is where inclusivity truly enters the story. Because this fictional journey isn't just about one celebrity family. It reflects parents who choose not to post their children online. Guardians who disagree with relatives about exposure. Families navigating cultural expectations around visibility, legacy, and reputation. It reflects anyone who has ever been told they owe the world access to something deeply personal. The disagreement between parents, once framed as scandal, becomes reframed as something more relatable. Two generations trying to understand a world that moves faster than their instincts were designed for. One raised in a time where public presence equaled credibility. The other learning that constant visibility can be its own kind of risk. And through that lens, the story softens. In this continuation, there is a moment, quiet and unshared, where the family collectively decides that not every fear needs to be addressed publicly. Some fears are allowed to exist privately, where they can be handled with care rather than commentary. This decision doesn't end speculation entirely, but it starves it. And eventually, speculation moves on, as it always does, to the next loud thing. Lovely viewers, when we look back at the entire fictional arc, what remains isn't the panic or the disagreement. It's the lesson. That disappearance, in a world addicted to presence, can be an act of love. That disagreement, when handled without spectacle, doesn't weaken families. It clarifies them. And that children, even famous ones, deserve to grow up without being cast as characters in someone else's narrative. So as we close this continuation, I want to leave you with something to reflect on. Not a conclusion, not a moral carved in stone, but a question that applies far beyond celebrity culture. In a world where sharing is rewarded and silence is questioned, how do we learn to respect boundaries we cannot see? If this story made you pause, if it made you reconsider how quickly we fill gaps with assumptions, then it has done its job. Share your thoughts kindly, listen to perspectives that differ from your own, and remember that sometimes the most responsible thing a public figure can do is step back and let life happen off screen. Lovely viewers, let's move forward from that quiet pause together, because what followed next in this fictional journey was not silence, but something softer and far more lasting. Reflection. Not just within the family at the center of the story, but within the audience itself. The kind of reflection that doesn't announce itself loudly, but slowly changes how people react the next time a rumor appears on their screen. After the conversation shifted and the frenzy eased, something subtle happened across fan spaces. Old posts resurfaced, not to reignite panic, but to question it. People began asking why the phrase "kept out of the spotlight" felt so uncomfortable at first. Why absence felt like loss. Why reassurance was only trusted when it came with visuals. These weren't accusations. They were honest questions. And honesty, when shared openly, has a way of reshaping communities. In this imagined continuation, the family noticed the change too. Not through trending hashtags or viral clips, but through tone. Messages sent through official channels became calmer. Fewer demands. More well wishes. The energy shifted from extraction to empathy. And while no public acknowledgement was made, the impact was felt. Lovely viewers, one of the most important realizations in this chapter of the story is that trust doesn't grow from constant explanation. It grows from consistency over time. The family didn't suddenly open doors or offer glimpses. They simply stayed steady. The same boundary held quietly day after day. And slowly, that steadiness began to speak louder than any statement ever could. There were still moments of doubt, of course. That never fully disappears. Occasionally, a speculative video would surface, or a dramatic caption would try to revive old fears. But the response was different now. Instead of spiraling, many viewers simply scrolled past. Some even commented gently, reminding others that not every story needs to be chased, not every silence needs to be filled. This shift didn't happen because people were told what to think. It happened because they were invited to feel differently. In this fictional world, the twins continued to grow beyond public awareness. Not hidden, not erased, but protected. Their lives unfolded in ordinary ways that don't make headlines. Laughter, scraped knees, bedtime stories, mornings that start too early and evenings that feel too short. None of it documented. None of it performed. And that ordinariness became the quiet center of the story. Lovely viewers, there's something powerful about a narrative that refuses to climax the way we expect it to. No dramatic reveal. No triumphant comeback. Just continuity. Just life, uninterrupted by the need for validation. In a media culture built on peaks and drops, this steady line felt unfamiliar at first. Then it felt refreshing. The earlier public disagreement between parents, once magnified into a symbol of fracture, was now understood through a gentler lens. Disagreement didn't mean division. It meant dialogue. It meant care expressed through different instincts. Over time, those instincts didn't cancel each other out. They informed each other. Protection became more thoughtful. Communication became more intentional. And most importantly, decisions stopped being made in reaction to noise. As viewers, many people recognized themselves in that process. Parents who disagreed with grandparents about posting children online. Partners navigating different comfort levels with exposure. Individuals learning when to speak and when to step back. The story stopped feeling distant, felt familiar. Lovely viewers, inclusivity in this continuation means acknowledging that there is no single right way to navigate visibility. Cultural backgrounds, generational experiences, personal histories all shape how people view privacy and presence. What felt excessive to some felt necessary to others. What felt protective to one person felt isolating to another. And instead of flattening those differences, the story made space for them. In fan discussions, new voices emerged. People who had never commented before shared personal experiences of being overexposed as children. Others shared stories of being unseen, of wishing someone had spoken up. These conversations didn't lead to one conclusion. They led to understanding. And understanding, even without agreement, softened the edges. As time passed in this fictional arc, the family's public work slowly returned to focus. New projects, performances, interviews that stayed firmly within professional boundaries. And something interesting happened. The work was received more attentively. Without the distraction of personal speculation, people engaged more deeply with the art itself. Scenes were discussed. Characters analyzed. Craft appreciated. It was a reminder that visibility doesn't have to be total to be meaningful. Lovely viewers, perhaps the most striking part of this continuation is that the story didn't end. It simply stopped demanding attention. It became background, then memory, then reference. A moment people looked back on and said, "Remember when we thought silence meant something terrible?" Followed by, "We learned a lot from that." And that learning extended beyond celebrity culture. Touched how people approached their own lives online. Some shared less. Some asked for consent more often. Some paused before commenting on stories involving children. The ripple wasn't loud, but it was real. In this imagined world, the twins didn't grow up unaware of the attention that once surrounded them. They grew up informed, gradually age appropriately with context and care. Not burdened by it, but aware of why certain choices were made. They learned that love sometimes looks like saying no to the world. That boundaries are not walls, but doors you choose when to open. Lovely viewers, as we continue to sit with this story, it invites us to consider our role not as spectators, but as participants in the culture we help create. Every click, every comment, every pause contributes to the environment public figures and private individuals alike must navigate. So as this continuation settles, let it settle gently. Let it remind us that not every mystery needs solving, not every absence needs explanation, and not every disagreement needs a side. Sometimes the most inclusive thing we can do is allow space for complexity without rushing to simplify it. Thank you for staying present through this ongoing story. Your willingness to listen, to reflect, and to engage with care is what turns storytelling into something more than entertainment. Until we meet again, carry that thoughtfulness with you, both online and offline. And remember that respect often speaks loudest when it doesn't shout.